All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, people. I usually don't come to you in my truck, but lately I've been watching a lot of things in the truck. So I'm not really going to focus on the camera too much. I'm going to focus on talking. Today I want to talk about ignorance. Because you can't really call people stupid because it's not that they're stupid. It's that they're ignorant to certain facts. They're ignorant to certain things that happen or have not happened or did not happen at the time that they speak about something. And one thing I'm starting to notice with a lot of the young people is the internet is, I'm not going to say ruining because that would be too far, but the internet is stifling their ability to do proper research and at least have a understanding of the time frame that they're speaking about. And what do I mean by that? Because they tend to look at things that are historical and in a different era and in a different time with the mindset of today, which is a total fallacy. You can't do that. And they want to talk about evolution when it suits their point. But when it doesn't suit their point, evolution isn't even in their mind. Now, I'm going to make this real quick. And I'm talking about this in regards to the Bill Cosby issue. I don't want to go and speak on issues like this, but this is for my kids. Because my kids are going to look back on this and they're probably going to ask me, Daddy, what did you have to say? And I want them to be able to click a button and see what I had to say. Now, do I know if he's guilty or not? No. Do I care if he's guilty or not? No. But what I will tell you is this. What I don't like is the spread of false information and moving of masses in a direction that's solely for your benefit. And that's all it is. So the people that are saying, F Bill Cosby, calling him Pill Cosby, he did this, he did that. Number one, you wasn't there. You weren't there. Number two, the people that was there, look at how this started out with all of these women and all of these allegations. And you get from all of those women down to one. Now, before I go on to any other point, put that in perspective. Put yourself in Bill Cosby's shoes. If 100 women accused you of something that you know you didn't do, what are you going to do? You going to spaz out? You going to flip out? You going to do all of these other crazy things? And I'm speaking to the people who are not in Bill Cosby's position, who don't have Bill Cosby's money, who don't have Bill Cosby's lawyers. Bill Cosby has been in the game long enough to understand that's just what it is. It's a game. Been in the game long enough to understand when to speak and when not to speak. That's something that as younger kids growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, things of that nature, we learn. We learn when to speak and when not to speak. And nowadays young people get so mad at you for saying stuff like this. Oh, that ain't this time. This ain't that time. Well, these things affect you when you get older in life. You learn when to speak and when not to speak. Now, you can't be a regular person making regular money and have no lawyer, no entertainment history, not steeped in the game, and say that you would have done this, and the third, because you wouldn't have. Money changes how you approach situations. And if you have regular money, don't play this game. And I don't mean like I'm playing in the game or nothing like that, but this is things that I learned when I was young and when I was in the streets. You don't play a game that you're not equipped for. So how the person, I'm not going to call this person's YouTube channel out or their name because it's not about them, but I'm going to use them as an example. If you know who it is, then you just know who it is. This person said, where was Bill Cosby speaking out on prison industrial complexes and things of that nature? When Bill Cosby was touring the country, giving his speeches, giving his graduation speeches, there was little to be known about prison industrial complexes to general public, let alone entertainment figures, because there was no internet. So the information that you got, you had to get it firsthand knowledge, or you had to have a source of the source. And you had to be interested in said thing. So my question to you, YouTuber, if you decide to listen to this or you listen to this, or my question to you young people who agree with the fact that he wasn't speaking on black political issues or black suffering issues, is how could he possibly know about prison industrial complex, and all of that stuff at that point in time? We're talking 80s, 90s. How could he know? Okay, advent of the internet. Now that he knows, is it his lane to speak on these things? And does that change anything that has to do with him as the person and you as the person that's going through these things or not going through them? You've never been arrested. You've never been harassed. You are privileged to an extent over other people because you got a YouTube channel, you got a phone, you got a computer, you got a place to live, you got food, you got clothes on your back, expensive clothes nonetheless, that you always tend to show off. You got money in your bank account, so you're surpassing a lot of people, but you're complaining about something. Okay, all right, you're conscious of the prison industrial complex going on. So now that you're conscious of the situation, what are you going to do? You can't point the finger at other people and say, why aren't you speaking on this? Because you're speaking on it. Because once you point the finger somewhere else, that's it. You're defeating your own cause, which makes you a hamster in a wheel. That's it. Next thing is, you use Bill Cosby as a talking point, right? Because these things, Bill Cosby didn't admit anything. You can be alleged for a crime, be booked, presumed guilty, and not done a thing, and get locked up. Now, you're mad because he only got 3 to 10 years, right? He's got to serve 3 to 10 years. Number one, he's old. That's number one. So you want him to die in jail? Okay, fine. Number two, he has money and high-paid lawyers. Again, I go back to the beginning. If you don't have enough money or you don't have the means to play in this game, meaning the court system, don't play the game. Don't do things where you're going to get caught, need a lawyer to get you off in a court of law, and then get mad when you get railroaded and thrown in jail for 15 to 20 years for a non-violent offense. You can't beat cases like that with regular paid lawyers, with public defense attorneys. It is a very slim chance that you're going to beat it and get out 3 to 10 years. You never thought to yourself how much money he spends on lawyers. Because after all, we know the judicial system is a game. It is the high level of the game, but nonetheless it's a game. And we are all players in that game. And when you decide to put yourself in the eye, or put yourself in the system, in the realm of them even possibly putting you in the system, driving 100 miles an hour on the interstate, selling drugs, things of this nature. When you play that game, you put yourself at potential risk to end up in that courtroom some way, shape, form, or another. And if you don't have the money for a high-paid lawyer with a good reputation and knows what they're doing, then who are you going to get mad at when you get railroaded? See, people are always looking to place the blame somewhere else. They don't want to take responsibility and accountability for them playing the game in the first place. Now, if you get arrested and thrown in jail and you didn't do absolutely nothing, that's a whole different case. But then how many cases do we have of that? How many cases do we have of people doing nothing, getting railroaded and thrown in jail? And I'm not talking about just black people. Now, if you're focused on just black people, well, let's travel down that avenue. Did you know that black people were getting harassed by police before the internet? And if so, what did you do about it? Did you start a community fund program? Did you start explaining to people their rights? Did you research your rights maybe possibly try to be a lawyer, or at least learn a lot about law, so you can start informing the people in your neighborhood on how not to be taken captive by the police, on how not to put themselves in the way of the police? Did you start telling those people that was in your neighborhood, hey, stop selling drugs? I know you got to make a living. I know you got to provide for your family if you have one. I know you got to eat. Come stay with me. Let's find a job. Let's work on your resume. Let's go back to school. Let's get that degree. Let's get that high school diploma. Did you do any of those things before this internet stuff? Because that's what matters. That's what counts. Not what you can say on the internet stream or live stream or whatever, or type or do your little tweet and get 100,000 people to agree with you. And now you're about that action. No, you're not about that action. You're not documented as helping anybody out. And even if you are documented as trying to show you're helping somebody out, you're only sticking the camera in your face so you can get more views. Ultimately, you're missing the point of what it means to actually help somebody. You're missing the point of what it means to put yourself below somebody else and lift them up so you can help them out. You don't know what selflessness is. You think being loud, cussing people out, being aggressive, talking about all the systems that the white man has drummed up. There's many sides to this coin, because it's not a coin. It's not A and B. It's not heads and tails. I don't care if people try to creatively make a coin stand on its end and say it's heads, tails, and that little piece in the middle. It is a prism of light, meaning all things go into this to make something out of it. There are so many factors. For every one factor, there's 10 counter factors. For every one problem, there's 13 things that cause that one problem. He's not selling drugs because he wants to be flashy and wants to have money. Maybe he has low self-esteem. Maybe he's being bullied. Maybe that's the only way he can do some things. Maybe that's the only way he has an avenue of approach to get some money so he can have food and have a place to live, because you as his friend does not help him. You wouldn't part with $20 for him to eat. You tell him, get it by any means necessary, until that any means necessary leads him down the road to fall into the judicial system. And then, now you have a talking point, because now you can say police are railroading our black men and throwing them in jail. But where were you at before he was in jail? This is that thing. You want to point the finger. And you're not in Bill Cosby's shoes. You're not in any one of these other people's shoes who are getting railroaded. Because, hey, somehow or another, you were able to avoid it and make YouTube videos and Facebook posts and Instagram posts about this said situation. So before you go talking about anybody, understand that you have your own transgressions. Somewhere along the line, you have failed. You have done something that nobody would like you for. You have done some vile things, but you keep them to yourself. Just luckily, there was no cameras around. Just luckily, nobody took a picture. Just luckily, nobody is accusing you of anything right now. So you're home free. You're home free to spew all the hatred you possibly can spew, especially in the direction of celebrities. We know that celebrities are a part of the role, and they play their role. That's why they're at where they're at. They're not there because they're immensely talented in acting. A lot of people can act, but they're in that position for a reason. But that's not your lane. Oh, but your lane is the judge, but you don't want to be judged. It's a hard pill to swallow. I get it. I understand. Because at one point in time, I was ignorant too. But these ignorant critiques of other people with money and fame and what's perceived as power and influence, you can't critique something that you're not even close to that level. You're not even close. If you had that type of money, if you had Bill Cosby's money in your account right now, if you had Bill Cosby's lawyers right now? Would your morals still be intact? Would that foundation that you grew up on and was raised on, would it allow you to do vile things and know that you can pay your way out of it? Or if you do have to go to a court of law, you got good enough lawyers to get you off the case? Or would you be a humble person? Would you stay to yourself? Would you build for your family? Would you take some of that riches and help somebody else out? And I ain't talking about your dogs and your day ones. What about people who are not your day ones, but they're good people who fell on hard times? Did you miss that point? With all that being said, man, whether Bill Cosby is guilty or not guilty, I don't know. I don't care. Honestly. I wish that man the best because I don't want to see nobody suffering. I suffered enough in my lifetime. I watched people suffer enough in my lifetime. They're not even my worst enemies. I want to see them suffer. So I wish that man the best. I wish a lot of us younger folks, middle-aged folks, and some older folks who are easily manipulated, I wish we would get it together and stop letting this internet put us on the path of destruction, which is not destruction for ourselves. It ain't self-destruction. We destroying other people's legacy. We destroying other people's characters. You can't call yourself pro anything if you're willing to destroy anything that resembles you. So if you don't call yourself pro nothing, okay, you're not pro-black, you're not pro-white, that's fine. What are you? Because you want to put a label on yourself for some reason. Some reason you feel better about yourself if you got a label. If you're this, you're that, or you got this title, you're not that, you're this. You're already defeating the purpose. You're already feeding into the system so hard. Because the system, the name of the game in the system is division. By any means. Race, religion, color, creed, ethnic background, and gender. And everything else you can think of. You know, that stuff that's in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence that they say they wouldn't do. All men are created equal. Yeah. All of those are ways to tell you the opposite. The duality. I'm going to divide you. And as long as you're divided, I don't have to worry about you doing any of the things that you're allowed to do. You know, like if the government is crooked, you can form a militia and overtake the government. Can't form a militia with people who are divided, with individuals. I got mine, you got to get yours. Of course. You're nothing but a product of the system. And when people told you you was a product of the system, you thought that you were proving the person wrong by going in the opposite direction. But you're not. You're proving the person right, and you're feeding into the system, further dividing your people. Take some time to listen. Sit and listen. And stop worrying about, oh, I done read this many books and I done looked this up on the internet. And stop telling people to go do their research because you didn't do yours. If you did your research, you know what's a part of research? Meditation. Meditating on that thing that you just read. That comment that you just heard. Blocking out yourself. Because your ego will tell you everything for self-interest. Doesn't tell you anything for your community or any of those around you or your loved ones or your family members or your friends. That's not what ego does. I hope y'all get it together, man. I really do. It took me a little while. You know, it took me a good little while. I was blessed to have very wise people in my life that straightened me out as soon as I started going through. I was very blessed not to be in the age that y'all are in. Because if I was young, a lot of my stuff would be all over the internet too. But fortunately, it's not. I made my reckons, I made my peace, and I straightened up, and I'm flying right now because I got kids. I got little copies of me that I gotta make sure that they see the right way to live. They see the right way to go. They see the right way to treat people. I'm not passing down any of that hurt, anger, and pain. Not doing it. That's the sole definition of reincarnation. Not doing this over again. My kids are going to be better than me. but it starts with me. I hope y'all get it right, man.